Ramakrishna. It says in his biography that this was the end of his evolution. This is a point that Sri Aurobindo brings up. From the traditional point of view, this experience is the end of evolution. But Sri Aurobindo says, this is not the end of evolution. This description actually leads to a type of stasis or quietism where there is nowhere further to go, nirvikalpa samadhi. This leads to the question, is it wrong to condemn the evil you see in the world? From the high state that Ramakrishna attained, he would perhaps be indifferent to the happenings in the relative world. However, there are reports of his great compassion toward the poor. From the cosmic history point of view, this represents an individual experience of the intervention of the Absolute, but it is not the end of evolution. This is merely a stage along the way. The Buddhists, along with Sri Aurobindo, say that not only is the human form to be reunited with the Absolute, but the whole of humanity along with the human form and all of nature has to be reunited with the Absolute. In light of this, when we look at all the different teachings, Ramakrishna's teaching went to Vivekananda, and Vivekananda was able to make it a social teaching and started the Council of World Religions. Still, he tended to remain aloof from the political domain, or not have any commentaries about this. Many Buddhist teachers recognize that we live in an evil and degraded world, but they refrain from making any judgment about it and often refrain from offering any solution beyond meditation. They may say something like, "George Bush was your mother once, so don't revile him." However, this approach seems to miss the point. The Muslim point of view, on the other hand, has no qualms in identifying what we might call heresies from the Absolute. It says, "Don't be seduced by the whispers of Satan. Many are the names of egos setting up idolatries to God. Stand up for your rights if you have to." These are all types of issues that elucidate the need for a higher understanding that unifies all points of view with unanimity of understanding. The more we spread around the world, the more divided we became. When we realized there is one whole earth, we were so divided we could not really appreciate it. That was hardly 40 years ago. Whether we know it or not, this was the signal that now we are all preparing to return. We have no choice but to realize we are one on this earth. This is the meaning of the noosphere. We are now poised for the great return. We are all one with the earth. Now we must all become one noosphere, one mind, one religion, one God. In the book Cosmic Consciousness, Richard Buke says, "When we get to cosmic consciousness, we will not have religion because everything will be religion. We also will not have art because everything will be art. We will not have telecommunications because we will be telepathic beings." These are all just words and pointers, but to know requires direct experience. When the ego is finally penetrated and inhibitions released, then you will know with certainty that you have entered a new state, the supermental state, the state beyond words. This state is indescribable because language is built up as if ego were the final arbiter. Unfortunately, the language of the present collective consciousness furthers division. This is why the Tower of Babel, Babel, is the metaphor of the limitations of language as means of communication. Direct experience is undescribable. When you are no longer limited by ego, you experience that it is you, and you are it. Skin does not divide anything. Senses are floating. Contemplate what this means. It may be just as simple as saying, and yet they are all returning to us. Us is God and the angels. This is what we are returning to. When we see the angels, they will remember us, and we will remember them. At this point, we will have gained full access into supermental state. This is the vision cosmic history has to communicate. The great huge cycle of involution of the soul is complete, and the return has begun. This is where we are. We are at the hinge of the Absolute in its self-remembrance. We are at the interval in the continuum of matter when it becomes conscious of itself. It is the meaning of the intervention of the Absolute, known as cosmic history. For the individual, the intervention of the Absolute can be much simpler. Any act of kindness, goodness, or compassion enters you into a relationship with the Absolute. Any act with a hint of selfishness will not create a good result. This is why it says in the scriptures that the righteous shall inherit the earth. When you do acts of genuine goodness, you are participating in the supermental state. The ultimate selflessness is to lose your ego altogether. Selflessness means giving without attachment. When you are selfless, you do not have to say, "I'm a really good person because I did that," or even, "I'm really good." When you have no attachment and need no credit for your good acts, that is a touch of the Absolute filling you with hints of bliss. The best thing you can do to make all your actions meaningful and enduring is give up whatever credit you might get for it. As Padmasambhava says, offer your victory to others and do not compete with the powerful. You should conclude your good works and practice by saying, "Whatever merit I might receive from this, I offer to all sentient beings." In this way, you are not holding on to anything, so that the supermental can penetrate you. To give anonymously and secretly is the highest good. Then you are selfless medium of the Absolute. Such considerations are but a preliminary for comprehending cosmic history and cosmic science, inclusive of the Avatar's wheel of time, the momentousness of the divine descent that turns the universe into the direction of absolute return. With every avatar comes a living descent of knowledge. All avatars form a living link, a divine knowing or galactic communion. At the same time, they are cumulative, all pointing to the now imminent evolutionary upgrade, divine incarnation of the Absolute.